Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and I own and operate multiple 7, 8, and 9-figure medical businesses, and I'm here to help you grow. This is a podcast not telling you you should do this. I'm just telling you how I did this, and I hope that helps you. I want to help you build your business. I want to help you take ownership of your life and be a better leader at home and at work. And welcome, as always, Miss Amanda May, to the podcast. I think it's your first time, right?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
It's
welcome.
always great to start something new.
Yep, there you go. There you go.
200 and some
200
episodes in.
something episodes in.
I
It's your
told
first
somebody
time.
that the other day and they were like, what?
Yeah,
Like, that's a lot. Because I think most podcasts stop at like 10
yeah.
episodes.
Or not Mason. What's your name? Oh yeah, your name is Mason, huh? Mason. Do you know the data on podcasts? I think it's like you're absolutely right though. Go ahead. Oh, Mason wasn't listening.
He's
He asked what
not
the question
listening.
was again.
He tunes us out the whole
Why do we even have
hour.
Mason around here? He's just staring at he's looking at a screen. We think it's us this whole time. It's probably just like cartoons or something like that. He's watching the entire time. No, but I think you're right. I think I don't know. It's some stupid data that people like to post. I think if you do more than 10 episodes, you're in the top 1% of people who have a podcast. If you get past 10 episodes, I'm sure 200 is got to be like 0.1 or something like that. So we're the 0.1 percenters around here. I'm gonna write a post about
All
that.
right. You should.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
photo of me flexing or something like that. Yeah, it'll be awesome. Do some AI
In
stuff.
front of the mic.
Do some yeah, that'd be awesome.
That
There you
would
go.
be cool.
That's what I'm talking
That'd be
about.
cool.
Holy shit, we're coming up with some freaking gold here today. 21 episodes. You're in the top 1%. Who told you that? ChatGPT? Google did. Holy crap, Google coming through. Old Google. Faithful. It's like the Cracker Barrel logo going on here. We're going back to Google. There's not ChatGPTing around here. We like them old Cracker Barrels and we like Googles. Do things a little different around here. But all right. So we already did kind of the first half, we would say, of what we're talking about today. Now we're doing the second half, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about your takes and tweaks on the top 10 business books of 2025.
All right.
So these are the next 5, and these are not necessarily ones you've read all of, but your gut reaction when you've heard about them, when you've seen snippets or heard other people talking about them, and what you think of the overall message. So let's get into it. The next book, so this is number 5. So catch our last episode, which covered 6 through 10. So we're starting at 5 today. The next book is Main Street Millionaire by Cody Sanchez. And I've actually started digging into her a little bit more. I watched her on another podcast and I'm like, okay, she's got a good message. I like her. So I'm interested to see what you have to say about this book.
Yeah. I think it's fucking dumb.
Okay, tell
I'll
me
tell you
why.
that right now.
Tell me why.
So what she's essentially talking about is the great wealth transfer. You have all these entrepreneurs who are getting older. They're baby boomers or older. They're starting to retire, and a lot of them don't have anybody who want to take over their business. Or if they do have family, the family doesn't want to take over the business. They don't have anybody to leave their legacy to, and there are a lot of businesses that aren't sellable, or they're not sellable for the amount that they want because they haven't done all the things to make their business super sellable. Maybe they're still the main operator. Everything's on paper. Everything's old. Now, her concept is good. And her concept is essentially taking these businesses and acquiring them, putting some sort of low money to no money down, then being the owner operator and putting in new age technology, hands off things, making maybe all of the paper into electronic. And it's a good concept. I think it's a good idea in theory, but I think out there, the message that they've started to portray to all these people is that anybody can do it.
Mm.
And that's not true. Like, if you're going to buy one of these boring businesses, you still have to run it. You still have to know how to run a business. You still got to look at a profit and loss sheet. You still got to figure out how to do it. And it's a misunderstanding, I think, to also come up with the idea, well, somebody else, I'll buy it and somebody else will run it. Okay, well, how did you get the money in the first place? Probably from, if you had enough money to buy a boring business, you probably were just running a business in the first place, or knew how to run a business, or were a very good operator and were around people that were running businesses. Or on the opposite side, if you go from nothing, just an employee, then it's probably best that you were in a position of management or upper leadership where you, again, were reading P&Ls, running a business, etc. But you might not be able to afford that business. So I get what she's talking about. I think in practice, what they're saying is that everybody can kind of do it. That's not true. I think in practice, it's going to be the same aspects of being a real entrepreneur. The fact that you're going to miss birthdays, you're going to have to get rid of friends, you're going to have to level up your circle. All that stuff is still going to be uncomfortable, even if you buy a boring business. So, boring businesses are not hands off. There is no passive income. There is no Instagram. I bought 7 car washes and I was just collecting checks and never went in to see any of them. That doesn't work. I think that's totally bullshit the way it is. And so that's what's been perpetrated out there with all these different types of people. Buy businesses, zero money down, and run them yourself and all that. It's not that easy, guys. It's absolutely not that easy. So, I mean, they can write all day long. I think the concept with Main Street Millionaire is you can go in, acquire, buy, scale these boring businesses, but you still have to have the knowledge to acquire, buy, and scale those boring businesses, and you still have to go and work in them. That's just it. You have to go and work in them until you have built up a team in order for them to run those businesses for you.
The confusion would be thinking that buying a boring business means it's easy
Yeah.
and that you're automatically gonna be successful. Because to your point, I go back as well to that first question, where did the money come from? So you had to know how to get funding, which also takes some level of skill, connections, network, financial literacy. Like that's the first aspect. So you have to know how to do those things too. So it's just not like coming off the street and being like, I'm gonna go buy that laundromat for no money down.
Doesn't
That
yeah, doesn't
doesn't
work like
work.
that. You might be able to structure that deal, okay, but guess what happens when, hammer goes down, they say it's yours, sold. Well, now you gotta figure out how to fucking run that business if you have never run a business before, how to have employees, how to run payroll, how to do all that stuff. You're gonna have to figure all that out. So, it's not as easy as people think, entrepreneurism, no matter what, is not easy. There is no such thing as passive income, and maybe you just wanna buy it and have your wife run it or have your spouse run it, and it's gonna be a loss, whatever. Like, if my wife wanted to buy a boring business and run it, or, do she wants to do a TikTok shop, like, and it's gonna lose $30,000 a month, you know what? Fuck it. But if that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. Like, I wanna support her in that, and if you don't feel like you can support her in that or support your spouse in that, then you're not a fucking real man, period. Because if she wants to do something that I think is stupid, because I know it's gonna cost me money, she wants to do, like, the ALO and all the, clothing, TikTok shop and stuff. Because people will ask her all the time what they buy for the kids and what she buys for her clothing, and she's like, she wants to start a TikTok shop. Is it a business that's gonna make money? Probably not, but I don't give a shit. If she loves to do it, she loves to do it. If she wants to open a glute lab, booty building gym. Are gyms profitable businesses? I mean, some people could argue yes, but if it's not like 80 hours a week you're in the grind doing it, not gonna be a profitable business. But you know what? If she wants to do it, cool. I'll pay for it. He'll lose money. But if she's happy, whatever. At least I, as a man, provided for her and her needs and what she wanted to do. And that's what you should be thinking about, period. So, again, if you want to go and buy a boring business, you want to run it into the ground and blah, 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 and keep it afloat, and that's what you love to do, fucking go do it. But that's not what I'm talking about in this episode.
That takes me to that post that you had that said that men in relationships spend $15,000 more a year
Yeah,
And
only
you were like
$15,000 a year.
"Who is that
Yeah,
guy? And
on
who is he
average.
married to?
Yeah.
Because I'm spending way more than that."
Yeah, it said
So
on average, men with a spouse spend $15,000 a year on their spouse or significant other or girlfriend. It's like, whoa, like,
he's getting off cheap.
congratulations to that man. That man has figured it out. I wanna talk to
Uh,
that guy for sure, for sure.
well, little insight on Cody Sanchez and some, kinda insider info I have on her. A client, a past client of mine in Las Vegas, Lisa Song Sutton, she actually had started a boring business. It was a ship center. It was like a direct ship to, like, one of those one-off, not a UPS franchise, but like the independent shipping and postal stores. And she found a lot of success with that. Now, this was something she opened. She didn't buy that business, but she opened it, ran it, was making residual income, very, very low overhead because when she talks about it, she shares how the mailboxes, it's rent. Essentially it's reoccurring revenue every month. It takes up a very small footprint within the actual center. So it was a very good business model. And her and Cody are friends. I have no connection with Cody, but from Lisa, this is what I've heard. And her and Cody are friends. Before Cody got, super big and all this, she sat down with her and she said, you need to make a model and sell this idea, like this model to people
Mm,
because you can coach people how to do this, but also you've got the blueprint. Like you know how to do this. The difference in that is Elisa had the business. She ran the business. She knew the ins and outs of that business. Then she created a program to sell that model and help other people do the same.
yeah,
So it's a business she knows. It's not just go out and buy any random boring business. She's like, for 10 grand, you can open your own. So put your own money into it, open your own. It would be considered a boring, non sexy business. The postal industry isn't considered sexy. Although some women do say the men at UPS, they like the man in uniform. So maybe to some that
yeah,
is
yeah,
sexy.
yeah.
But no, in that case, that's an unsexy business, a proven model by somebody who did do it, and then she's teaching other people how to have, let's say, a non-sexy business, but it's one that they open from the jump on their own. So I feel like that's a little bit of a different model, but blends the topic as far as having a non-sexy business that can really create you a good revenue source.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned in what you just said is that she didn't do anything that she or create anything that she didn't know about. No, I wouldn't go and buy a business that I have a boring business because I have no idea how to run boring businesses. I would go and buy a boring med spa and turn it into a Genesis. I would go and buy a boring B2B company that's in the medical field and supply Genesis or supply our companies. And again, if you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, look at verticals or things that you know about and start there. Because if you're going to go and switch your careers, you can, but realize that if you're going to switch your career in your 40s, you might be 20 years behind somebody who's been in the field for 20 years and you're starting from scratch. And so if you don't 10x the amount of work and output that you have versus them, you're never going to catch them ever. No matter what, even if that guy's running at the slowest pace possible, you need to be running at 10x to be able to catch him at some point because they got a 20-year jump on you or a 10-year jump on you or even a 5-year jump on you. So if you need to switch, again, you can do it now, but at the same time, you should focus on what your vertical is. If there are business opportunities, boring businesses or things in your vertical that you actually know about, that way you're not starting from scratch, zero, day one.
You've built medical businesses.
Mhm.
What advice would you give somebody who comes to you and says, "I want to buy a medical business"? Actually, this is a very legit question because we're in those different groups, Facebook groups. And the one is like Med Spa Connect or whatever, that's a national group. And I am like amazed how many people post in there. I want to start a med spa. What do
Yeah.
I need to know? I'm
Yeah.
like, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are you asking
What?
Facebook what you need to know? You should have been researching for, I mean, there's so much Google, ChatGPT, even reading the other posts that people post in
Yeah.
those groups
And
about
maybe
business.
it's just not a well thought out question. Maybe
Yeah,
the question is there something I haven't thought of yet? Tell me what your best advice is.
yeah.
That way, if there's something I'm not seeing yet, I can explore this too. But hopefully,
No, I doubt it.
that's
Those
not
people are
their
just asking
first
no, those people are just asking
place.
what do I need to do?
So
And
what
it's
and
rough.
I always tag, "Join
Yeah, I see that.
charismatics."
I'm like, "Do it. You guys
Every
you guys have no
time
idea what you're doing."
every time somebody posts that, I'm like, "You need to join a mastermind or something. Find out if you even know or have the grit to do what you think you're gonna do." But anyway, back to my question there. If somebody came to you and said, "I wanna buy a medical business," what would you tell them?
Are you in the medical field at all would be my first question. If you aren't in this field, I would tell you absolutely not because there's ways to make way more money I outside of this field. The average clinic is gonna be between 20 or PE data shows that the net profits of a company, of a clinic, a medical clinic is gonna be around 24 to 26%. That's like the national average. At Genesis, we're around 28 to 29%. And then we have economies of scale that can get us up to 40%, which is way above the industry standard. We were already above the industry standard at 28 to 29%. There are ways to make way more money with a lot less oversight. I mean, we've got government regulations, we've got state regulations, you have licensing issues, you have so many things that cause an absolute headache for a business like this. So if you're not in the medical field and it's not like you're 100% passion you're going to do every single day, do not get into this field. It's just not worth it. Number 2, if you are in this field, then you got to figure out whether or not you actually want to run a business. Most people want profit sharing. They don't want to run a business. They don't want equity because what comes with equity? The negative parts. Not being able to eat sometimes, not being able to get a pay check sometimes, having to pull own money out of your savings account and bank account to pay other people before you to make sure you still have employees. Most people don't want that. They want profit sharing. They want when the company's doing well and the clinic's doing well, I want to get paid. And when it's doing bad, I don't want to have to worry about it other than showing up. They don't want real equity. They don't want what comes with real equity. They want profit sharing. So really look at yourself and say, do you want that? Do I want this? If not, that's not a big deal. You make 7 figures easily working for a company and being really high up in a big company. So you don't have to always focus on, hey, I want to buy this and be the CEO and want to run it because I want to play business. That's not what you should focus on. And so I would start with those 2 questions. And then the third thing is absolutely, do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody in this space, no matter what, if it's in the medical field or another field, do you have somebody in this space who's either done it before and they're teaching you or their friends or their business partners, somebody who's been there, done that in the field that you're trying to get into or you're into and you're trying to scale in, you need to find a mentor. And that's why we created Charismatics because you're absolutely right. There's nobody to a degree in this field being a business mentor to grow. Everybody out there is really doing a lot of trainings on procedures and processes and stuff like that. That can be done anywhere. 100 different medical training facilities are out there to train on the processes and procedures. They don't train on the business. How do you actually make money in medicine? And so that's what we teach, as well as the mindset shift of doing that.
It's one of the things I think about when these people are saying, "Should I buy a medical business?" and I tag Drink Charismatics because maybe you don't want to. And the investment you spend 3 months in a mastermind, you realize, all right, I spent 10 grand being in this mastermind to realize I don't want to invest my life savings or quit my job to pursue something I really am not passionate about or that's going to take more work than what I want to put in. And so that investment is is a really valuable investment. If you just want to find out if it's something you want to get into, it's a good place to start. The fourth book we're going to talk about is Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari. And he's a historian and he explores how technology, biology, and AI are emerging and what it actually means for humanity. What is your take on this?
Mm, that's like a super loaded question. Um, Ooh, AI is here to stay. AI is going to replace a large part of the lower end workforce that is maybe unskilled or just answering phones or just texting, customer service. It's going to replace. It's going to replace just simple Q&As and question and answers on websites or when people are reaching out to businesses. It already has. It has already done a lot of it. I saw an article yesterday. There was a IT company where the CEO fired all of his employees. He had like 45 employees. It was an IT like AI company. He built the AI to replace all of them. And he replaced all of them, like 40 plus employees. And I laugh about it because it's like, well, shit, that sucks. You went to work for an AI company, you got replaced by what you created
Uh-huh.
in the end. But that's the way it's going. People will have to either upskill or not have jobs. And that's the dangerous part of it. You're absolutely right, where they've talked about the end of real civilization and everyone not being able to afford to do anything because they don't have jobs because AI has replaced their jobs. And there's really a huge option that you have here. You have a choice here. You either level yourself up, get higher level skills, use AI to increase your skills and your knowledge, or you get left behind and you pretty much become poor. That's the options that people have now. That's probably what's going to happen in 20 years' time. Because when you think about it, if you're unskilled and a automated robot can do your job, you're gonna get replaced by an automated robot that doesn't sleep, isn't hungry, doesn't wanna raise, doesn't complain about anything, is not gonna have interpersonal, questioning or challenging of the boss or the CEO of the manager. You're just gonna get replaced, period. That's how it's going to happen. Simple as that. There's enough CEOs and leaders and managers out there that don't wanna deal with people's bullshit anymore, and if they have an AI person who's not and that they don't have to deal with that, I mean, that's what's gonna happen. That's why, again, there's also maybe gonna be the downturn of babies essentially being born because there's gonna be AI companions where they'll give you everything that you want and none of the bad. Like, there won't be any fights, there won't be any arguments, there won't be you'll have an AI companion that just does what you want it to do, which is also dangerous, obviously. And some people might say, "Well, I like argument. I want that." No, you fucking don't. Nobody does. That's bullshit. People are like, "I like that interpersonal like argument." No, you fucking don't. Shut up. Nobody does. Nobody does. Can you imagine if your spouse always did what you wanted and you guys never fought or never had? People be like, "I lost passion." No, you fucking wouldn't. You'd shut the fuck up and you'd have sex a whole lot more. That's what would happen. Period. I mean, seriously. So really AI is a tool for those who focus on how they can use it and use it well and expand and speed up their mind. I talk to AI all day long. And I'm not talking about psychiatric stuff. I'm talking about asking it questions on our C-suite team, asking us directions on marketing, asking it directions on how should we come to market with certain products, asking it directions on interpersonal challenges and how certain world leaders and leaders of businesses and entrepreneurs would handle this versus that, etc. I consistently ask it questions and it's learning and it's growing. And at the same time, it helps me move faster, period. So if you're not using it to move faster, it's just kind of that's the direction humanity is going in general. I look around and I see people even driving, just staring at their phones. And sometimes even myself, I can't remember the last time I went out in nature and went for a walk. You know, I can go out in the neighborhood and walk, but like drove to nature and hung out or drove to nature and went out. I haven't. Maybe it's an entrepreneur thing where I just like to stay at home as well and build businesses. But people are losing that. People are doing that less and less and less, and communities are doing that less and less. And I just had a conversation with Brent, co-CEO of Genesis yesterday, and we were talking about our kids. And his kid he's 13. I think he's in the fifth grade, and he's the last one without a cell phone. And he refuses to get him a cell phone. He's like, if you go to practice, Call me when you pick me up. That's all. Like, he gets that cell phone for that time. He doesn't get to play with it at school. He comes home, dude's doing his homework, then going to practice, and then outside fucking playing in the yard, being athletic, using his brain, becoming intelligent. And at the same time, we're looking at our kids, my wife and I, and we're looking at different schools and hybrid schools of homeschooling and in classroom schooling. And there's a bunch of studies now that show those kids that have homeschooling and mixture of AI schooling are developing way faster, are learning way faster than their counterparts that are just traditionally in schooling. So AI is going to perpetrate everything. It's going to be a part of everything. It's already replacing doctors. It's going to replace all the employees who can't think. It's going to replace all those employees who are just there to show up for a 9 to 5. The only thing it can't replace is right now hands-on stuff. Can it do it I mean, are there machines that can do makeup stuff? Yeah. Are there machines that can do your nails? Yeah, but there's not a machine, and it probably would cost a whole heck of a lot of money to develop a machine that does your Botox or does your filler or does a body sculpting or does any type of like hands-on treatments of a client. But everything else that comes from data and just providing a service based off data, or even providing a service based off of um, conversation, like a psychologist or psychiatrist or things like that, all those jobs are getting replaced. I mean, numbers crunching, chief financial officers, and everybody in that finance world,
Analyzing data,
data
you can't
huge.
you can't go wrong. I
No.
mean, it's like it's so fast, it's so accurate.
Yep. It is. It
Yeah.
is. And every once in a while, it spits out something stupid. So you got to be intelligent. I always say AI makes intelligent people more intelligent and dumb people more dumb because it's going to have bias in it.
Yeah.
So you have to call it out on its bias sometimes. But that's where I think AI is going with just everything in terms of this. And is it ethical or not ethical or whatever? Like all those lines are going to be blurred. And what we felt was ethical before is not going to be ethical anymore. You can go back to, gosh, let's go back to Roman times and Greek, Greco-Roman and Roman times, and let's talk about how our ethics now have changed. Because I'll say something super controversial. Back then, they had super young children as like sex slaves, males and females, for men and women. We think about that nowadays, it's like that's kill all pedophiles type thing. I'm on that side of it. But back then, it was normal. That was what was accepted. That was what was ethical. There was no non-ethical things about that. Slavery, it was ethical back then. It's gonna be the same with AI, where it's like, what's ethical, what's not ethical. What we thought was ethical nowadays may not be ethical in the future. So people can always have that ethical argument with each other. Well, guess we'll find out if it starts to kill us.
I will have to fact check this one, Mason, but I did see a post that in China, they are creating a robot as a surrogacy robot.
Yeah, I
So it
saw
can
that. It's gonna be able to
carry
develop. Yeah,
a baby,
yeah, absolutely.
which
I saw
is
that.
wild to
Yep,
think
yep,
about.
yeah. So if
As
you
a
got a
as a
wife who
m
doesn't argue, has sex with you, does your every whim,
and
and
carries your
carries a baby,
babies.
bro.
I didn't really think
Yeah,
about that.
and I don't have to spend $15,000 a year on her, right?
You
Like
just spent
it's
15.
I
Well,
just
it's
spent
probably a
15 to
lot
buy
more.
the robot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
it's
a lot
probably a
more than
really,
that,
really
but
expensive robot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I gotta buy her like a really expensive car, So if it's like $130,000 robot, that's like buying an Escalade without all the extra stuff that I gotta buy.
yeah.
Right? I hope she doesn't listen to this. I'm fucked otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, she's fantastic. I'm sure she'd take that and use that.
Chat says it's just a concept and not happening.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Chat is Chinese. It could be.
All right, so per Mason, ChatGPT says it's a concept, but not yet happening. So we shall see. We shall see. All right, so number 3 is The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. He's one of the most legendary music producers of really alive today. But this book isn't about the music industry at all. What it is actually about is reflection on creativity. And what his main belief says is that everyone is a creator and that creativity is a way to make it's a way of living, but it is not necessarily the only about the talent. And business, it's it's high level, it's art. So even though he's a music producer, this is from a broad perspective, more about creativity and living out creativity.
Oh, that's a difficult question because I think as an innovation is one of our core values. So we have to consistently think outside the box and think of new ways to deliver a service. Am I to the level of an Elon Musk or Walt Disney or somebody like that? No, absolutely not. No way. I mean, those guys are just creative beyond belief. Willy Wonka, thinking things outside the box and taking aspects of this process and putting it over there. And I would have never made that connection a lot of times. So no, I'm more of an owner. I'm more of like an operator when it comes to this. But you do have to have in your business some sort of creativity, or at least focus on creating some sort of creativity in your business in order for you to gain attention. If you don't have any, you could have the best service in the entire world and nobody can know about it and you'll never fucking sell anything. Actually, Brent and I are talking with a business right now. They have a trademarked process, right? And they were talking about acquiring half of this company. And the business owner, it's funny because we talked to the business owner and the business owner knows that what he has is great. It's special, but nobody knows about it. So he himself is like, "Well, I don't think my IP is worth anything." And what a mature way to think about it because you're absolutely right. If you have a great process, a great procedure like this business owner has, but nobody knows about it. So nobody's paying for his licensing, nobody's learning it, nobody's touting it. There's no affiliates for it, there's no growth of the business. You don't have a sellable, valuable business. It's worth nothing. And so business owners say, well, I got $1 million in top line revenue, but well, I'm not bringing home anything. We're not profitable yet. Guess what? Your business is worth $0. And so that's one of the things that, you know, you have to be creative in order to make your business worth something. Like IP is worth something if your business is profitable. Ideas are worth something if your business is profitable. But that's the way you get profitable. You get creative. You think outside the box. You deliver a service better than everybody else. It has to be wonderful customer service that's quick and with a smile, and you have to separate yourself from other people. And that's the big thing in the medical field is that everybody and their mom is creating a med spa or now a research peptide company online or some sort of Botox in a garage, et cetera type bullshit. And you have to, as a company, be able to separate yourself from those people, show people why you're better, and at the same time realize that at the very, very bottom, you're just like everyone else. You're providing the same service as everyone else. You're providing a cash pay service that people have to take their hard-earned money and come to your clinic and pay for your stuff. So, baseline, you're the same as everyone else. They can get a bottle of tirzepatide across the street. They can get NAD over here. They can get Botox and fillers at 7 different locations in the city. At the same time, you have to have some sort of creativity to gain their attention and to let them know why you're the best.
How much of that do you feel like comes from culture and living out the core values of your company and really having a brand? Because I feel like that's what we're talking about now. What makes you different? How much of that has to go back to somebody having a brand that people identify with?
I think it has a lot to do with it if you're bringing in the core values of your brand. Like if you're just focused on a brand and your logo and that looks cool and there isn't anything behind it, no weight behind it, then it's not going to help you out. But your core values is what's going to drive you. It's what's going to drive your staff. It's what's going to be a part of that creativity that makes you different than everyone else. So I think it's a huge part, but it's got to be driven from the core values. It's got to be driven from living and dying by those core values every single day.
In the beauty industry, something I think people have gotten too creative about is trying to relaunch or get creative in how they provide some of the services. So they jump on beauty trends and people don't think about long term, like this really isn't tested for efficacy, or what are the long term results if I get this done versus the thing that's tried and true, which is something we've recently talked about. This is more on the medical side, but used for beauty is PRP versus PRF. People get fancy because they want to make it about the marketing. They want to be able to have the newest, coolest thing. That's different. That's not creativity. That's jumping on trendy bandwagons. And that actually can hurt your business. So that's a different conversation. And I want to clarify that for the listener because creativity is what we were just talking about. Jumping on the next trend isn't necessarily helpful for your business. And as a matter of fact, can sometimes hurt your business. So in the case of PRP versus PRF, where one of the things that you had sent our team as to why we choose PRP versus PRF and the long-standing efficacy, knowing that the actual concentration has to go through a small needle, and if it was true PRF, it wouldn't be able to fit through a needle. So that right there shows you that's more marketing than it is true PRF in the vial that you're using. So things like that, I think it's important to pay attention to, and I've seen it a lot in the permanent makeup beauty world, specifically for eyebrow tattooing. People started doing microblading because face tattoos have been around for a long time, and we're not talking about the Mike Tyson
Yeah, Mike Tyson
si-
gets your
si-
face done.
face tattoo,
Yeah.
but permanent makeup face tattoo. It's evolved. It's no longer deep tattooing. It's more in the epidermis versus the dermal levels. So it's softer. It doesn't change shape and color over time. So that's evolved in a positive way. But what people started doing was adding microblading, which was small cuts in the eyebrow. And it sounds how it feels. It is cutting the face over and over and over to give the appearance of hair strokes.
Mm.
And it was super trendy and people were getting it. And, it looks really good the day you get it done because the lines are super crisp. Think about getting a paper cut. It's super fine. Now, if you were to add ink into that, it's going to be a fine line. What happens in the skin, especially on the face, and especially with people who are oily, is that fine line starts to spread over time.
Hmm.
The other thing that happens if you have somebody who isn't well trained, if they go too deep and they go into the dermal levels, now what happens is that pigment changes colors, it moves. It's just long term, it is not a great solution for eyebrow tattooing. 10 years later, people are having to have their eyebrow tattoos later lasered off because they went that trend. So, that being said, what something feels sometimes like creativity, really paying attention to what is the market, what is your industry uh standards, what's marketing versus like true and tried results that you can prove over time. Those are key things to pay attention to. When you're being creative and innovative in your business, do it wisely.
Yeah. Yeah. Play the slow game. Play the game. Treat people right. Help them succeed, and they're going to continuously come back over and over and over.
Okay, let's jump into number 2, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. So this one blew up on social media. I am in a bunch of different female chats, and when this book landed, it was going crazy in the chats. Women that I know were like, I got the book, I'm reading this, I'm reading that. And what Mel Robbins says in this book is the whole message is stop trying to control people. If they want to underestimate you, leave you out, misjudge you, let them do it. And it's a part of a mindset that's really about boundary setting, leadership philosophy, which goes back to a lot of her teachings. The idea is that the real power comes from detachment from what other people say, think, or do, and real focus on your own path, in your own goals, your own vision, and not trying to change people or situations around you.
Mm. I
How do
think,
you relate to this one?
well, I think that's a really good point. And another book that's kind of along the same lines a little bit is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And it's the same theory where you can't really blame anybody for thinking the way that they think or being the way that they are or responding the way that they respond, because that's their assumption of life. And that's the way that they're going to react. And something that I heard the other day, which was pretty profound, is that we are all making decisions based off of feelings and situations and things that have happened to us or occurred to us in the past. So we are all making decisions or assumptions and having thoughts based off of something that will never exist again. Like the past is gone forever. Like it's never coming back. Um, and we're not even close to time, you know, travel or going back in time or anything like that. So we're all making decisions based off of stuff that will never ever occur again. That's crazy when you really think about it. And so it's the same with people. Like you're making decisions based off of people who probably won't be there at the end of your life, who probably won't come to your funeral, who don't pay your bills, who have most of the time little to no effect on your life and how it's going to, you know, unfold, probably have zero effect on how good of a father or a husband or a brother or, a son you're going to be, right? Has zero. If those people, usually those people have zero effect on any of those things, but you're making decisions and focused on those feelings and caring about what those people think or say or do because they're just in that position, because they're just in front of you. And some people might think, well, I really care about my staff, and that sounds heartless. It's like, okay, I understand that. But there's a difference between, caring about your staff and wanting the best for them and pushing them to do that, versus just letting them be, and they suck at their job. They suck at their job. You're not. Don't change them, or don't improve that person, or don't pour into somebody else around you. You're still gonna do it. If you still care about people, it's still the human condition. You're still going to try and push and make them grow and tell them this is the way we got to do it, from the beginning. But I mean, I think, talking in circles. I think that's just part of life. Like people are going to have their own opinions, and there's the study that shows that on Facebook or social media in general, if you try and argue, it just solidifies their opinions even more. If you try and argue, like there's no arguments that are ever won on social media. The study showed that it just makes their resolve of their opinion greater. So that's why I love to argue on Facebook, because I know I'm never going to change their mind, just piss them off, make them really angry about their opinion in this, which just makes my day fun sometimes because they get really pissed off about it. But I don't know. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Oh, this is a loaded one for me because there's a lot of levels to this. One of the things that I learned in the personal development course that I am involved in is the past does not exist unless you choose to create it in the present. And so Sean and I bring this up to each other. So if we tend to go if we go down the remembering the remembering path of even something positive, but let's say something negative that didn't feel great in our lives, we'll call each other out. And it's like, the past doesn't exist unless you create it again right now. Like, that's over, that's done. To create going forward, that takes a very high level of intention and deliberate creation. To say, this is something from the personal development course. Things always work out for me. And really believe that. People might go, "Well, what proof do you have for that?" Well, things just always work out for me. And to really hold that presence that no matter what is happening, no matter how it goes, things always work out for me. That's creating forward. It's like, what do I want to create? And being deliberate in that process versus just on default. So it makes a really big difference on if you see results that aren't based on your past, but it's a deliberate decision. I'm going to create X, and you truly create X. And it's possible if you can remember and remind yourself often that the past does not exist unless I create it right now in the present anyway. So just because and that's also something to pay attention to in business, because if you're basing every move you make on, hey, I did it this way in the past and it worked, and you're inflexible to what else might work, then you can also keep yourself stuck. So it's recognizing that even sometimes the things that were good in our past can hold us back or create a ceiling for what we want to create going forward. So deliberately slowing down, stopping and going, things always work out for me, or this product is going to do this, or this service is going to do that, or this is what I'm going to create in my business. And then doing that. I feel like when you really believe it and you move toward it, the path doesn't matter how you get there. It's, that's kind of like unnecessary detail. But did I set out to do it, and then did I achieve it? The how doesn't matter. The universe, God, yourself, all those things moves into a alignment phase when what you say you want is what you truly believe that you can manifest. You did it with your dad's car.
Mhm.
It was your car. No, it was your dad's car,
Dad's
right?
car,
It was
yeah.
yeah, so you did that. I mean, you've experienced this a lot in your life. And I say in your life, I've known you now for 5 years. So since I've known you, I've seen you manifest things that you put your vision on. You have intention. There's no secondaries. It's just, this is what I'm going to create, and then that's what I create. And that's a powerful place to be. You cannot I think of it like a horse, like with blinders. The only way to not, for horses, the reason that they wear those is so they don't get spooked. And it keeps them focused. So it's like we need to have these spiritual blinders on that keep us focused on our own path, our own journey. And when you have those on, yeah, you're going to let people do whatever they're going to do. And you talked about the business and caring about your team. You do care about your team and what they do and their success, but you've also had people that have left the company who haven't treated you well, and you've dealt with that side of it too, but it's letting them. And you said to me one time, I said, "Do we want to be following these people anymore on Facebook? Like, do we want?" And you were like, "I'm not paying attention to what they're doing.
Yeah. Let
It's
them
cool.
watch.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let
it's
them
all good.
watch.
It's all good." And I was like, "All right, bet. Cool."
Yeah.
And interesting enough, after that, I never saw their stuff again.
Yeah.
So, maybe just because it was out of our
They
awareness.
still copy us all the time. Let them copy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So interesting. But the other book that reminds me of is a book I read early on called Boundaries by Cloud Townsend. Incredible book for having boundaries. I read it. I did a whole study on it at church, and it was probably 10 or 15 years ago now, but it's along the same lines. And that's what that book is about. So I'm a big fan. I haven't read the book. I've heard great things. I like the concept and I like the teaching that I've heard come from her. So, I think that would be a cool book. And then our number one, as we close out these top 10, 25 business books, our number one business book is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah.
Still holding strong at number one. This one's been number one for a while on business books. And the idea is really simple. It's big transformations. It doesn't come from huge actions, but consistently having the same habits repeated over and over and over. So where have you seen this work in your life? What do you think about Atomic Habits?
So I think this is a great book. This is one of the books I have read and implemented in my life. And there's a bunch of different ways out there that people do it. Andy Frisella, my mentor, has something called the Power List. You put your 5 daily tasks that you have to do that will move your business forward, and you have to get them done no matter what that day. And every day you got 5. I have always done something like that, where it's just a list of things to do, what I got to get done today, what's getting worked on this week, this month, this quarter, and this year. So having those habits in place, but with James and the way he wrote this book, he talks about once you have, a cue and a craving, then you have a response to that, and at the end there's a reward. What he's trying to show is that those little wins, they stack up to big wins. If you create a culture of winning, people are going to expect it. They expect it when they come on board with the company. They expect it when they come on board with your culture. They expect it of each other. They expect it of a new hire. They expect a culture of winning if you are creating that culture around you. It's like historically great sports teams and Notre Dame,
Dallas Cowboys.
Alabama, Dallas Cowboys back then. You create a culture of winning, a culture of being America's team, a culture of being like the go-to program for kids to go or business partners to be a part of, like Google, Amazon, Apple. If you're in the New England area and you go to Ivy League schools, any of the Ivy Leagues, graduating from Ivy League schools, all my friends went to JP Morgan or Chase or, all the banks that were in New York City or Chicago or Boston. If you create a culture of winning, you create a culture of excellence based off those little wins. People are going to want to be a part of that, and people are going to feel more successful. You're going to feel more successful when you stack those little wins. Ed Milet talks about how he does 7 things in the morning that makes him successful before he starts his day. That's just what he does. Do I agree with it? No. Look, Ed, you could just wake up and be successful as well. But that being said, people create those little wins that in their mind allows them to grow, allows them to improve, and allows them to move towards a consistent success.
Recognizing that some of these things can change in your life from time to time is also a key factor. I've read this book and I do have Atomic Habits. I, this week specifically, had a testing of this and recognized what a difference it makes. So, I've had the baby and my schedule and sleep and working out and all that stuff has changed. My life looks different from a day-to-day standpoint than it did prior to having the baby. And so getting into what works for me now is not what works for me even a year ago, having her be a newborn, as it did a year before that, before I even had her. So recognizing that these things can evolve as well over time and figuring out what works for you in that phase of your life can take some testing. You have to test out what works. How do you feel? Being really present with how you feel in the process will tell you if your habits are stacking up to wins. So this week felt super chaotic for me. I was like all over the place. I was emotional. It just has felt really chaotic. And what I discovered that I wasn't doing this week that I have been doing for the last couple months is I'll get up at 5:30 while the baby's still sleeping. I go read for anywhere from, depending on how deep I am in, I study a book. I don't really read it and just like to read it. That doesn't do shit. Like I study, write things down, take notes, journal on what I read because I want to implement what I'm learning. So anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes if I'm really super in it, it'll be an hour. So about 6:30, I have my coffee while I'm doing that. I will open up my app. I am, hopefully people will notice over time, I am working on developing my communication skills. So I will do that for 15 to 20 minutes. I'll go have celery juice and then I love straight celery juice. I have straight celery juice. I feel so awake and fresh in the morning. And actually, celery has nicotine in it. I don't know if you knew that.
No,
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Somebody told me that. Well, I think it was a doctor or somebody that I was talking
Was it
about.
Dr. Pepper? Because that doesn't seem real.
It's not. That
Okay,
one's not.
okay.
It actually has nicotine in it, so it opens up the what is that called? Starts with an N. Nootropics. It's like a
Oh, okay,
nootropic.
okay.
Yeah. So it like awakens the brain. Anyway, and so I'll have celery juice. I jump on the treadmill or whatever and do a workout for 35 minutes minimum, up to an hour, depending on if Ellie is still sleeping. When I do that every single morning, I feel fantastic. My day feels smoother, everything. This week, what I did different was I got up, I started responding to our marketing that was going out for Life PRP. I started checking the Facebook groups to see who I could connect with about sales. I went on social media. I just did all these things that were out of what I know feels good. And all week I felt chaotic. I felt scattered. I was not as productive. So I was like, you know what? This is a good tester for me as to get back to your habits, get back to what you know works. So I did today. But I share all of that because if you're listening and you go, I don't know what works, test things out and then really check in with yourself. How does it feel in your body? What results does it create through your day, through your week? How productive do you feel? Did you actually set out to do something and then have it accomplished? Or, were you all over the place and unclear about your goals, vision, path, etc.? So Atomic Habits is another one I'm super big fan of.
So I had to review this. I googled this. Is there nicotine in celery?
Oh yeah,
And
good.
there's competing data. However, it is part of the nightshade family, so there is very low amounts of nicotine in it.
Yeah.
And then there's also
It's not like smoking a
a
cigarette.
part. There's also a part that's like, no, there isn't any nicotine. But if you ate an eggplant in the morning or a tomato, they would have more nicotine.
Are
in it.
you trying
So
to
when you
get
get up,
me
just
to change
eat
my?
just eat an eggplant.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna be like, so
yeah.
next
Just
week I
eggplant
tried
emoji
an
it.
eggplant.
Yeah, there you go. Just eat your morning eggplant emoji. You could also just do a Zyn in the morning and just smack yourself with 3 grams of nicotine and probably have the same thing. Probably be just as
Uh,
calm in the morning.
I don't know what Zen is.
You don't know what Zyn is? Oh
No.
my God, you know those packs? So instead of tobacco, the tobacco, they do Zyn, which is like a caffeine. Mason, you do Zyn, right? You seem like the type. You seem like the type of guy that does Zyn. You got that weird
I
mustache and a mullet.
snorted.
I wasn't packing.
You were a pack-a-day smoker?
Were
Well, that
you?
makes fucking sense. You look like it. No, Zyn is like caffeine patches, or
Oh,
not caffeine, nicotine patches. I'm sorry. And so there's a lot of good. You're right. There's a lot of good data on nicotine and helping with nootropics and stuff like that. So
I'll stick with
and
celery.
Brent does the Zyn packs.
Oh, he did have those
all
that
fucking day,
during some
all
of our
fucking
meetings.
day long. So I was like, I'll try it, like a low dose
Yeah, how'd
nicotine,
you
because
feel?
there's a lot of entrepreneurs that do it. How'd I feel? I ended up butt naked on the fucking floor of my bathroom, dry heaving for an hour and a half, like probably fucking 90 seconds after I put that thing in my mouth.
With one?
Yeah, with one. Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
never
wow.
again. I gave the rest of
And
the
you're
pack.
telling me to do it?
I gave the rest of the pack to
Thank
Brent.
you.
Yeah,
I
there you go.
appreciate the
You're welcome.
kindness.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I love
Yeah.
that you're sharing
Yeah.
what
Ways.
not to do.
ways to fuck yourself up in the morning.
You're like,
So I was
yeah,
like,
try it. Let
I
me
was
know
like,
how
yeah, I'm
you
gonna do
feel.
this nicotine. I'm gonna be super fucking smart. Butt naked, sweating, like, oh, I wish I would die. Yeah, it
Oh,
wasn't fun.
no.
Yeah, so yeah,
I'm
don't do that.
smiling, but I'm sorry
Yeah,
for you.
that's the first drug I've ever tried. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah.
But,
No,
yeah.
stick with celery.
Yeah, there you go. Stick with your celery or
Stick with
eggplant.
celery. So these top 5 books, business books of 2025, really show that this is a year about intentionality, and whether it's about habits, hospitality, creativity, legacy, entrepreneurs are being called to really lead with purpose and not just about profit.
And you guys don't have to read every single book that's on the list. You don't have to read any of the books on the list. Whatever you want to read, whatever you're trying to consume, always ask, is this useful? Is it true? And if it is, how can I apply it in what I'm doing every single day? And that's what's going to be helpful. You said it yourself, you study books, you don't just read them. It's not useful to read a book and then put it on the shelf and never understand or never utilize or implement anything that was in that book. Read a book. If it takes you forever to read it, who cares? As long as you're implementing everything in that book that you're learning, that's how you move forward. Period.